Gabriel Stein is director and economist at Lombard Street Research, and he joins us now. You believe there's really no way out for Greece apart from this now?
Absolutely not. Greece is insolvent. We already know that. They are forced to pursue a demand deflationary fiscal policy, which induces a vicious cycle where they fail to reach their targets, and so they're told, well, you won't get any money unless you do even more. So they do even more, and they fail to reach those targets. And ultimately, one of two things will happen. Either Greek politicians, and Venizelos is sort of edging towards that, are saying, why are we causing ourselves this pain, which doesn't do anything for us? Or politicians in the payer governments, payer countries will say, we're not paying, not another penny for you people. And in fact, that's more likely. And it's only, let's face it, it's only by growing that Greece can get out of its troubles, and it cannot grow as long as it's inside the Eurozone. It has to leave, and it will leave, and the question is just under what form.
We're just flashing out some headlines from Jean-Claude Trichet now that he has been speaking, and he's saying that the euro has strong fundamentals. It is a credible currency. Will it remain a credible currency over the next coming months?
Well, that depends very much. It will certainly weaken, but I think crucially, if you take a step back and say, what does it take for a monetary union like the euro and like other monetary unions to succeed? And the answer is, a monetary union between equals has to become a transfer union, that is to say fiscal union, and that's near enough a political union. If the euro moves towards that, yes, it is a credible currency. If politicians continue to believe, or pretend rather, that they can ignore that, then the euro may limp on, but ultimately it will self-destruct. And personally, I hope that they will move towards a fiscal union. But that's unacceptable as long as not just Greece, but above all Italy is in the euro.
But also because national concerns trump the European ideal for not just politicians, but the people actually in the countries, like Italy, like Greece. They don't want to be told by somebody in Frankfurt how they should be running their economy.
They don't want to be that, but of course they like receiving the money, as everyone does who gets money. But it's also a question of people in the payer countries. The Finns are very interesting. They want collateral for their lending to Greece, but more interesting is the reaction from other euro area countries, the Dutch, the Slovenes, the Slovaks, the Austrians, who are saying, the Czechs now as well, although they're not in the euro, of course, but they're all saying, this is an unacceptable deal, but if it is accepted, we want collateral as well.
And how would that work? How would collateral work? Putting up money to get money?
Well, that's what it seems like at the moment, and I agree it's totally daft. The Greeks could, of course, offer Crete as collateral, for instance, but I don't think they would do that. It is just another way of saying, look, giving you any money is throwing good money off the bad, or perhaps worse money off the bad, and we're not going to do it, and you're going to be on your own, and it has to happen, and it will happen. I don't really believe in historical determinism, but who was it that said that something that is Herbert Stein, I think, no relation, said if something is unsustainable, it cannot go on, and this one, Greece euro membership will not go on.
How would an orderly default work? Is there such a thing?
It's tricky, but you could see, in combination with the devaluation, you could see a grand bargain, something along the following lines. Euro area governments sit down, and it has to be done, say, on a weekend and quickly, and they say, okay, this is unsustainable. We agree to your, shall we say, temporarily suspending your euro area membership. Everyone knows that's permanent. We agree that you can freeze your debt for 5 years, say, no interest, no amortization. Now, that will still be a credit event, so it will be a default, but still. Meanwhile, Greece goes out, declares that as of the next morning, all its obligations are denominated in the obol or starter or new drachma or whatever, but at 1-to-1, but the rate floats. They still have a primary deficit, so they still need to borrow, but they can privatize. They will still need to privatize, and of course their assets will now be cheaper for the other countries. They will need to shore up their banking system. The European governments will need to shore up their banking systems, but it's probably more palatable politically to use EFSF money to do that than give it to Greece. They can promise that no euro area entity, private or public, will sue Greece. and at least Greece will have the chance of growth. And bear in mind also, if Greece grows, and the other countries in southern Europe, when they see that this is a viable way forward, they will also buy exports from Germany and other northern European countries, which will offset some of the issue of the rump euro rising against the new southern European currencies.
What do you make about what's going on in America right now? There's an awful lot of hot air, there's a lot of bluster, and as far as actually getting the structural deficit down in the United States, this is just peanuts, right?
Well, peanuts it is not. Let's face it, 4 trillion is a lot of money by anyone's standards. I can't go into the details because I haven't seen the details of what Obama really intends. But let's be quite clear about one thing, by the way, which is that the rich in the US earn 20% of all income but pay more than 30% of all taxes. So, but more importantly, what is he doing here? He's throwing down the gauntlet to the Republicans. It's widely perceived that he lost the debt ceiling debate, having to accept expenditure cuts mainly and very little in tax hikes. Now he is going on the offensive. Presumably he feels that the American voters will blame the Republicans if they don't agree to his package. And so he is saying, look, we talk a fair share here, but above all, there's going to be much more tax hikes. And if you block this, you'll be slaughtered at the polls. However, what it also means is there's going to be no deal. That's the problem.
You're convinced that this is not going to go because
No.
tax increases are just an anathema to the Republicans?
That's right. In truth, you probably need a combination of tax hikes and expenditure cuts, but the Republicans have painted themselves into a corner, and now the president seems to paint himself into another corner. What this does is that it increases the uncertainty over the U.S. economy going forward, and we're going to see a very, very weak 2012. GDP certainly falling in one quarter, perhaps even two.
It was very interesting what Tim Geithner said on Bloomberg yesterday. And he was really saying that Europe is learning lessons from the US, the way the US has dealt with its financial crisis and the debt burden that it's had. There's a sort of bittersweet irony here, isn't there?
Well, unfortunate. You're right, but unfortunately, one lesson the Europeans seem to be picking up is definitely the wrong one. The German insistence on a balanced budget rule in all of these countries is very, very much in the spirit of the US debt ceiling, and we see how that works. I don't think the Americans who have proven themselves utterly unable to have a rational debate on their public finances are unfortunately not providing much of an example for the Europeans, who are equally unable to conduct a rational debate on the euro.